They say the Prophet borrowed stories from the Bible. Then he borrowed stories from Greek history. Then he borrowed stories from Abyssinia. Then he borrowed stories from here. Then there, then there, then there. And by the time they're done telling you how many places he borrowed from, you're like, how much did the Prophet travel? And how many universities did he get a degree from that he found these like hidden archives of obscure texts that have these parallels to the Quran, that he went and dug into their books and said, I'll borrow this part over here, and that part over there, and that part over there. The fact that you're finding parallels in the Quran to so many variations of worldwide literature in itself is an indication that this is from Allah. In and of itself, like this can't be from a man in the desert, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has access to the best of the knowledge of the time. The best of the knowledge of the time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Mecca. For example, when Surah Yusuf was revealed, the 12th surah of the Quran, Surah Yusuf, he's still where? In Mecca. He's not in contact with the Jewish community at all. The Jewish community is where? A faction of them in Medina. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is given the entire Surah Yusuf, and Surah Yusuf has such elaborate detail of the life of Yusuf, who is an important figure in Jewish tradition. That's in Jewish tradition. And the Quran comes and corrects a lot of the contradictions and the errors that were introduced into the biblical version of the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, and he corrects them in the Quran. Subhanallah. And that's not even when the Jews were around. And the Arabs are listening to Yusuf and they're like, who's this Yusuf guy? We never heard of him. So much of the Quran talking about Musa alayhi salam, while the Prophet is in no contact with Jews. In Surah Taha is Makki. Surah Al-Qasas is Makki. You would think all the ayat, all the references to the Jewish tradition should only come up when the Prophet is where? In Medina, and he's dealing with them. But no. Subhanallah. So by the time the Prophet ﷺ comes to Medina, he's already challenging them with what they have.